recording. Shout out to all my homies who never made it out.
Okay, couple minutes, gotta get through the whole thing.
Because that's all the bad boys. ¿Cómo se dice simmer en español? Simmer.
¿Cómo se dice read your article?
Oh, that's a lot.
No, it's not libro.
RTQ.
Oh yeah. Wait, I thought it was like articulo.
Articulio.
Yeah, we go.
Live footage of Ray trying now.
Okay, silencio, por favor.
Yeah, that's right. Shh. We made orange. It's really cool.
Is there an alternative sharpening device? Oh.
They can't even see me. Dude, this is joke machine on screen. Lear. We just caught it. Boy made it out of the hood. He's in his crib.
Hey, Jack, you do realize that every single thing that you say,
I know. I'm just talking to say. I'm communicating.
that would encourage.
Don't encourage it.
Just the main points are good. Okay, we're gonna talk about it at length.
These are really tacos. Shots.
Okay, raise your hand if you need more time. Okay, as a group, I'm going to give you, before we talk about it all together, as a group, I'm going to give you about 3 minutes. Okay, I just want you to go through and talk about what you learned. Okay, what you think Cinco de Mayo is, all right, how it transpired, why they celebrate it. Okay, you can take turns, you can have one person kind of go through and you can agree or disagree. Okay, so 2 minutos. Okay, vamos, go ahead.
Yo tengo highlight the Battle of Puebla during the France Mexico War. That is what is celebrated. My other one is I said what traditions it includes, and that's parades, mariachi music performances, and street festivals. What did you highlight?
I had a late in 1861 French fleet storm Veracruz, landing the French force and driving President Flores and his governor into retreat.
Oh, that's cool. I highlighted in responding to that, France, Britain, and Spain sent naval forces to Veracruz to demand reimbursement.
On the back, I thought everything was good.
So that's the day that the session
I said within Mexico, Cinco de Mayo is primarily.
Don't read the whole thing, I read it. Don't read the whole thing.
this little.
I also wrote, the attack was led by Texas-born General Ignacio.
How did you write that? You said you wrote.
No, don't highlight the whole thing. I also highlighted the publisher. No, but I also wrote the Revolutionary Peace, the Gallant Hidalgo, and Costilla's famous Grito de Dolores.
I said,
Senora Dunneback.
battle lasted from daybreak to early evening for the French finally retreated. They had lost nearly 500.
And the Mexican lost nearly less than 200. Traditions include military parades, recreation of the Battle of Puebla, and other festive events. For many Mexicans, however, May 5th is a day like any other, not a federal holiday, so often
Because they just try to live their life. They just aren't ready to
Senora Dunneback.
because they
Is cry in Espanol grito?
Grito is a cry or a shout. Gritar is to shout. So grito de Dolores means like the shout or cry of Dolores.
Grito de Dolores.
That's my grandma's name.
Dolores.
Okay, did you get it?
D-O-L-E-R-E-S.
Okay, so what
Are you American?
Yeah.
100%? You're 100% American?
That's correct.
What are you? So what's in between two?
I'm like 50 minutes. Nobody even knows where that is.
Yeah, Yolanda Pekovic is 100. Yolanda Pekovic?
That's what I said. Isn't that what I said?
You guys got it?
Where I said it.
Not German.
Not. Italian.
Still not a bandwagon.
Go! That's it?
I'm Austrian. Yeah. French.
You're not Mexican, you're not Spanish. I'm pretty much 100% land type. I'm a level 14 right now. I'm evolving soon into an adult form. I need 4 energy to evolve.
Alright,
My trainer. I'm a grass type.
okay, so obviously I kind of popped around and something most of you guys have it. So
Just like smile.
let's talk about it for just a minute, and then I'm going to show you a little video clip from the movie. It's called Cinco de Mayo, La Batalla. Okay? Are we ready to listen? Okay, so Cinco de Mayo, La Batalla. This movie came out last year, like in Hollywood. It was only released like in the southern states, not really here. I have it like on my Amazon account. And it's a really, really good movie. It is in Spanish and there are subtitles. But it really shows a good depiction of the events of Cinco de Mayo, okay? And like I said, I popped around a lot of your tables, and I feel like you guys have a good idea of why. If you were to go home tonight and ask your parents or your guardianship, whoever you live with, if they know what Cinco de Mayo is, how many of you think that they could tell you what Cinco de Mayo is?
I think my mom could because she told me yesterday. My dad told me.
It's the not Dia de los Muertos.
3 or 4 out of 33 people, okay? Because most
just
people
read about
don't know, right? Most people do not know. You coming in here, everyone's heard of Cinco de Mayo, but nobody knows why it's celebrated. So now we know that we had. Silencio, por favor. Okay, now we know why they celebrate it. Okay, so tell me, dime. Levanta la mano y dime. It was between which 2 countries? Raise your hand and tell me.
France and Mexico.
Raise your hand.
Wow, Kylie, team player.
Okay.
My hand is raised.
Okay.
Wasn't even me.
Okay, can we talk about this like grade graders? Okay. Levanta la mano y dime. Max, between which 2 countries? France and Mexico, okay?
PSG and Barcelona.
Raise your hand, levanta la mano y dime, okay? What was the name of the ruler in France at the time. Absolutely powerful move that you talked about many times before. Ava. Napoleon. Okay, how about in Mexico? Does it say? Who is the president of Mexico? Jack.
Benito Juarez.
Benito Juarez, good pronunciation. Okay,
Gotcha.
Benito Juarez was the president. Okay, and then you had Napoleon. We know some about Napoleon. I'm sure you've been studying in other classes, right? He was a guy who had a huge ego. He was very cocky. Okay, and was the ruler of France. Okay. All right, so we're going to watch a little video clip, okay? I am going to give you ample warning that it is in Spanish, it does have subtitles, and there is a choice for it in there that we can choose to ignore.
Whoa.
Okay?
Should we record this?
Although I'm not too concerned about it, because I'm just sorry.
Can I have a lot to say in my household?
Probably.
That's like stupid. Everyone's like only 2.
What are you watching?
You don't even know that. I'm not wearing a shirt. Weirdo.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a synopsis first. Okay, so this is Mexico. Okay, this is the city of Puebla in Mexico. All right, and so this is the army, quote unquote, the army, and what it looks like. It wouldn't look like probably an army that you're thinking of like nowadays, right? But this is the army in Mexico, and their leader, General Zaragoza, is up there giving them kind of like a pep talk because they just found out that the French army, right, is coming towards them. They've landed in Veracruz, which is like on the east side of Mexico, all right? And they've landed there, and they're making their way through this town of Puebla in order to get to Mexico City to take over Mexico. Okay, so they know that that's coming. They pretty much went around and gathered all the people that they could find to help fight. They're not necessarily trained, so they're definitely the underdogs. Okay, so their General Zaragoza is giving them like a pep talk. Okay, this is the scene that happens.
Ustedes son los primeros hijos de México y les quieren arrebatar su patria. Pero estoy harto de mexicanos que por el miedo y un maldito sentimiento de inferioridad piensen que es imposible la victoria. Hoy debemos cambiar ese maldito derrotismo que nos persigue y nos humilla como nación. Este día enfrentarán a un ejército que se asume como invencible. Y es así, porque no se había topado con mexicanos dignos. Mexicanos guerreros, como nuestros ancestros, como los que estamos reunidos hoy aquí. Este país se ha desangrado en sus guerras desde su independencia, entre ricos, pobres, liberales, conservadores, indios, mestizos, extranjeros. Hoy, ustedes tienen la gran oportunidad de unir a México. Que no les preocupe luchar contra una nación guerrera, pues nosotros somos guerreros también. Y somos valientes, pero sobre todo, somos libres. Y los libres no conocen el miedo y reconocen rivales. Este 5 de mayo, los franceses van a respetar el águila mexicana y van a mirar esta bandera hacia arriba y hundidos en tu sangre. ¡Viva México! ¡Pero viva México libre!
No battle. Batal. Batal in Espanol, Batalo. He was pumped.
So let's talk about it.
My name is Jeff.
Okay, let's talk about it, all right? So, they were definitely the underdogs, all right? And what you got from your article there, right, is that, and it talks to you about the war, right, that they were in. So here's how it started, all right? So we have Mexico, who was fighting the Mexican-American War. Have you guys studied that at all in your history classes yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so during this war, they needed to borrow money. Mexico didn't have money to fight against the Americans, to buy more weapons and all that stuff. So they borrowed money from which three people? Do you remember? French,
the French, British, and Spanish.
British, and Spanish. Okay, so they borrowed money.
That's me, jackpot.
So now that the Mexican-American War is over, all right, they want their money back. Okay, so you got Napoleon who's saying like, let's go get our money back, and then the British and the Spanish need their money back. Okay, so they ask for it, and Benito Juarez says, we don't have it. I don't have any money. Like, we just lost this war. We don't have men. We don't have money. We don't have, their morale was so low. It just was not a good time to be living in Mexico. They were sad. They were defeated and broke essentially. And so they said, we cannot pay you back. And so then they said, well, then it's fine. We're going to come get our money then. You're either going to give us your money or we're going to come in and take it and your land too. Okay? So they all got on ships.
What are they going to come take?
They all got on ships and they came over to Veracruz, which is on the edge of Mexico. Okay? And we'll look at a map of this tomorrow. All right? It's on the very edge of Mexico and they landed there. What happened was when they got there, the Spain and Britain found out that Napoleon had a whole different plan. He didn't really care about this money. He did, but he didn't really care about this money. He just wanted to get into Mexico. He just wanted to defeat them and take over Mexico. Why do you think that it would be important for him? Why would he care? I mean, Mexico's a big piece of land, but not like other places that he could have gone in and invaded. Okay? Why would he want to get into Mexico so badly where it was so wrong of him to do that Spain and Great Britain literally said, we want no part of this, and they actually left. Why would that happen, Jacob?
Because they want to grow crops there.
Okay, why else? Grow crops there, so actually the land itself, but why else? What is so important that being in Mexico would get him, Ray?
They're right by the United States.
They are right, we border with what? Mexico borders with the
US.
United States. Okay? So his grand plan, and Spain knew it, and Great Britain knew it, and they were like, no way are we touching that. Like, the reason why they want to get in there is because he knew as soon as he could get in Mexico and take it over, they could eventually get into the United States and take it over. Okay? So this little battle that happened on May 5th, 1862, was basically the stopping point of them just coming in and completely blasting through when everyone, the U.S. was down because they had just fought a war. So yes, maybe they won the war, but they didn't have they weren't ready for another war. So they maybe would not have been able to defend themselves. This battle, stopping that from happening, could have changed the way we know things today.
Wait,
Could
so
have not
if we didn't have sorry.
Okay? Hold your thought. Don't forget it. Okay? So it could have literally changed things as we know it today. So it was a big deal. Okay? It allowed the U.S. to say, whoa, this could have happened. We need to get ourselves ready and amped. It gave them plenty of time to do all that for future things that could have happened down the road. So what happened is, you read in there, is that they end up in the city of Puebla. Okay, right here. This fortress in Puebla, right? This little castle type looking thing. And there's lots of different stories, but the main one the main point of it is that they have this hill that goes up to this fortress. It's hard to see here, but what's the land like in Mexico? Is it like really
Wavy.
grassy and plush,
No.
or is it more like
It's dry.
sand and
Mountainous.
depending where you are? Okay, but what is it more likely if you're like here? It's going to be more like the dirt and the sand. Okay, so what happened on this day is that they actually ended up storming through, and in the France being, like at this time, Napoleon and their general was Lorenzé. Okay, the General Zaragoza was for the Mexicans and Lorenzé was for the France army. And they were very arrogant, so they really felt like they didn't need a lot of strategic plans to get into Puebla or the city of Mexico. They just want to trudge right through. And some of the other generals, and you can see in the movie if you eventually watch it at some point, say like, whoa, we need to be more strategic. There's bad weather coming. We can't just, they're like, whatever. They don't have any guys. We have 6,000 people. They have 2,000. Who cares? Let's just go through. So they did. They marched straight through. The problem is that the Mexicans actually were pretty smart, and they perched themselves up on this hill, okay? And it had this fortress up top. And they also got lucky to where it started raining for days, okay? It was raining. So they took, supposedly, this is like the story of it, who knows, but They took a bunch of cattle that they had herded up and they brought it on the backside where the French army were coming in. So they have this cattle coming at them, so like, what in the world, these cows and everything else. So they start like moving and shushing people up further. Well, then they see the Mexicans, so they kind of start this battle where they're attacking, and there's like these like cattle coming in from this side, so kind of being pushed towards up this hill. Well, if you've ever been, like get stuck or you've seen a car in a movie or yourself been stuck, you know when you keep like putting a car in mud and you kind of keep trying to get it started, it keeps getting worse and worse, right? Not better, because you can't get traction. Well, it's kind of the same thing happened on this hill, is that they tried going up this hill with all these troops, with the best weapons, the best artillery, and their horses. A lot of those things are heavy. So people are trying to get up the hill, the artillery, all this, and it's just sliding and sliding and sliding, and they can do nothing but literally be ambushed because they're just, these people are all up on this hill, which is a really good spot to be in, right, if you're gonna fight, and they retreated. So it was this big to-do for Mexico. It was a huge spirit and morale boost because they beat this big bad French army when they really never in a million years should have even come close. Okay, they weren't trained, they didn't have proper uniforms, proper weapons. There was no way that they were ready to beat this army. They didn't have half the people. But they did. And so then it was a big uplifting thing for the country itself. I wish I could say there was a better outcome at the end of it. There wasn't. Okay, they had this little win, which made them retreat, which gave everybody, including the U.S., time to say, okay, whoa, this is happening. Okay. The not so great part about it is France did come back in, ended up taking over all of Mexico for many years. Napoleon's cousin, Archduke Maximilian, took over for quite a while. And then eventually, on September 16, okay, just give you the date in there. What year?
9/16.
It's like nice.
My team is
Say.
And then they all got
Yes, we talked about the very beginning of the year when you start
Mexico won,
school.
but then they got
We
taken
talked
over.
about Mexico's Independence Day, right? We watched the video, the president coming out, ringing the bell, and him saying, Viva Mexico, Viva Mexico, remember? And that's Miguel Hidalgo, and how that whole thing started. So September 16, like some 8 years later, is when they actually had their Independence Day. So May 5th is not their Independence Day. All it is a symbol of a battle, a little battle that was won in Puebla. That was a big moment for them to say, we can do this, we can be on our own. And it did help continue to fuel that fire to where they were able to do this many years later and actually take the country back to themselves again. The Grito de Dolores. Gritar means to cry, and Grito de Dolores means the cry of Dolores. It's when Father Hidalgo went and rang the bell, they call it the Grito de Dolores, just like the yell of Dolores, which is like a cry of freedom. Okay? All right, so here's what we're going to do. You have, or you're going to have, okay, a choice, okay, between two routines of thinking. Okay? One routine is called CSI. How many of you are familiar with CSI? Raise your hands.
Color, symbol, image.
So excited.
Caloric,
Okay.
symbol.
The other routine is called headlines. How many of you are familiar with headlines?
Oh, I like those.
Okay, good. Maybe that's the one you do then, okay? So the first one is CSI. Okay, so you have a color. Okay, we're listening. You have a color, and then it's depicting the thoughts of Cinco de Mayo, okay? And the actual battle itself. And then you have your symbol. Okay, you need to tell me why. Why would you pick that symbol about Cinco de Mayo? And then you have your image. Okay, and you tell me why. There's paper up front. The other one is called a headline. And since most of you are familiar with that one, let's go through and take a look at it. We can read it together. You can make the choice. We're starting them today. We're starting them today. Okay?
that one thing.
All right, so let's read this together. Okay? So it says headlines. I'm on this side. All right? It says, when we look at the front cover of a newspaper, a magazine, or even a billboard right driving down the highway, the first things we typically look at are the pictures, right? If there are any. So when you're driving down with your parents, going on a trip, and you're looking out the window, you look at the billboards, right? And the first thing you look at are usually pictures. Okay, the second thing that grabs our attention is the headline or what's on them. And you know what I'm talking about, right? You go down the street and literally there's some billboards you don't ever even look at. And then there's ones that right away you're like, whoa. Okay, there's a reason why it struck your attention, okay? A headline should grab the attention of the potential reader. Your headline should be your hook, right? It's like a hook, like even a fish, like what hooks you in. And to make the reader want to read more, okay? Your assignment is to create headlines about the events outcome of Cinco de Mayo, La Batalla, okay? Practice writing out a scratch sheet of paper, and then you get the white piece of paper from me, and I'll show you a couple examples in a minute. All right? The headline should be one that it basically is going to sum up the battle, okay? Or it could be a headline of, and think about it in a newspaper. If that battle was today, what would the headline say in a newspaper tomorrow? Or if that battle was today, what could possible headlines be saying in the world a year from now? What could happen because of what happened yesterday? Okay? So you want to get creative. So here's a couple from last year. Okay? Here's one example of what could be a headline tomorrow in tomorrow's paper if the battle was today. Okay? This one says failure for the French. Okay? Failure for the French. This could be a title in a paper, right, for tomorrow.
Wait, is that the headline?
This is the headline. Okay?
Oh, that's
and on
easy.
the back side of the headline, you're going to tell me just why you chose that wording. Okay? Here's another one. This next one I'm going to show you is one that can be printed maybe like a couple months from now or a year from now. Okay? Something that might prelude because of what happened yesterday or today with the battle. Okay? This one says, will Napoleon rule the world? Okay?
And this is
so
thinking that
obviously
he
this
won
could be
it.
something that we might see in a newspaper down the road, right? Because he's going to be very upset that his troops retreated, right? And so now they're going to be planning to get back in, so it could be something, we might see something down the road that looks like this, okay? So one would be like what you could see now, and the other one could be what might happen in the future. Somebody last hour had the idea, like their title was the tacos versus the crepes. Okay? So it can be something that's like that, where it's got to be attention grabbing. Something that'd be like taco versus the crepes. What? But then you read it like, oh, Mexico versus the French, right? That makes sense. Now I want to read more about it because you're like tacos and grapes. What? Okay, so you can think of a headline that works.
It'd be like Cordova versus.
So I have paper up here for you.
Olive Garden.
Let's just do.
Okay.
Cordova versus Olive Garden. Yeah. Oh wait.
Silencio, por favor.
What's French? There's no French fast food.
Silencio, por favor.
Cordova versus Parlay.
Okay, here is the CSI paper, okay? I don't care how you split it up, okay? You can do it like one long way and then two small ones, or a big one, or all three, however you want to do it, okay? Here's your paper for the headlines, all right? You can fold it in half. You don't necessarily have to cut it. Today, if you don't want to, you can just put your name on it and keep it in here, or you can take it home. The other time you're going to have to work on this, we're going to finish them and then discuss them in groups, is tomorrow